Hello, you're live with me, Abby Francamont, here in my garden in the Inca town of Ollantaytambo in the Sacred Valley of the Incas in the Cusco region of Peru, where I am going live right now to answer any questions anybody may have about upcoming classes at Lambtown. That's lambtownfestival.org. Classes are now live for sign up. You can sign up and register for them at any point, and they begin at the end of the month, first week of October, and will be live, will be available recorded for you through the end of the year. So I thought I'd do this quick live session to tell you a little bit about what these classes are all about, what Lambtown is as a festival, talk about that, talk about what I'll be doing and what other things will be going on at that virtual festival. As some of you may know, in the fiber arts world in the United States and the English-speaking world in general, there's a long history, a delightful history of in-person fiber festivals and shows and events, right? So you go show up, you pet the sheep, see the llamas and alpacas, shop with vendors, check out all this amazing stuff, and also take classes, right? In-person classes with fiber arts instructors like me, or also coming to Lambtown 2020, are, which is all virtual, are Judith McKenzie and Maggie Casey. So there'll be three of us. Well, anyway, so usually all these things happen in person, and normally Lambtown takes place the first weekend in October in Dixon, California, at the fairgrounds there in town. And lots of people converge on the fairgrounds as vendors, as shoppers, as people with livestock, and people with an interest in textile production and the fiber arts in general. And there are contests like a sheep to shawl, which is, you know, from the wool all the way up through a woven object as fast as you can, a team contest, and shearing demonstrations and food and all this kind of stuff. And well, unfortunately, during this pandemic, we can't get together and do a lot of that stuff. We can't get together, and that's a big bummer. So most of those festivals have had to cancel. And Lambtown this year decided to take the radical, visionary, and audacious approach of going all virtual. So that's pretty exciting. And the organizers started putting their heads together and trying to think about how best to do this, and talking with the teachers who were on the hook for trying to do this event, and trying to figure out what we can do, right? How do we have a virtual fiber festival? How can we deliver really top quality classes? How can we do something that's like this amazing grassroots community experience that normally a festival like Lambtown is, right? Like, how's that possible when no one can go anywhere, when it's not safe to have public gatherings, when it's not when that's just not viable? I mean, I myself, I moved home to Peru, to Ollantaytambo here, which is very close to Chinchero in the Cusco region of Peru, which is the area that I grew up in, learning to weave and spin and do all that kind of stuff. I moved home to Peru, and that's great, and I'm thrilled to be here, and I love being here. And under normal circumstances, I can go back and forth to the U.S. without a problem and teach at some of these events. But during the pandemic, our borders are closed. I can't go anywhere. In fact, I actually can't leave town, and I'm really not supposed to leave my house. We're under hard quarantine right now. I mean, luckily, my house is this paradise of a garden that you see that I'm standing in. But yeah, I can't go anywhere. So I wouldn't be able to go if it weren't for the fact that the Lambtown organizers really buckled down and came up with some inventive ways to do a virtual fiber festival. So you've got things going on like the sheep to shawl competitions, and there are vendors, and there's all this kind of stuff as far as events happening for lambtownfestival.org. But for me, the really exciting thing is getting to do these classes anyway. So there are three teachers, featured teachers. There's me, there's Maggie Casey, there's Judith McKenzie. And each of us will be presenting two workshops, which are recorded videos that then we present in a live discussion, like as a webinar. So we'll be there saying, and here's the recorded video that we made about the subjects that we're teaching about. we're presenting it as a webinar, and we can stop and pause and go back and say, well, let's zoom in on this, let's zoom out on that, talk more about it, maybe bring other things on screen and show you. And it's super exciting. So that's a whole watch party. You get to see that. And then that's recorded, and that's available now through the end of the year. Well, from airtime through the end of the year. The pricing on it is also spectacular, in my opinion. It's $25, $34, or $50 per class on a sliding scale. You can see them on anything that you can watch streaming content on. So, your mobile device is fine. You can go back and see it again and again. And then also the three of us, me, Maggie Casey, and Judith McKenzie, will be part of a panel discussion talking about fiber arts in these fascinating COVID times and the quarantine that we're in, and what our digital communities for fiber are about. I'm really excited to get to be part of that. I'm excited to be part of this whole thing for so many reasons. Accessibility is one, and just being able to have a grassroots community fiber arts event, even though I'm under hard quarantine and literally can't leave my house, which, again, like I say, I'm very, very fortunate in that I have this amazing garden, that I live in essentially paradise. Well, I think it's paradise, right? So it'll be like 35, 40 degrees in the morning when I get up. And then it gets up to the 70s Fahrenheit during the day, and then it drops down, to the 50s, 40s in the evening, and gets really cold overnight. So, t-shirt weather in the day, sweater weather every night, light jacket weather. Always room for you to wear your hand knits, your wool garments, that kind of thing. Totally paradise. Anyway, yeah, so the classes that I'll be doing, one is a textile traditions of the Cusco region of the Andes of Peru. Speaking of, the temperature's dropping a bit. Let me just rotate this around and show you where I'm at. So if you look up there, you see the face in the mountain, and then a structure up on the mountain, and that is one of the old Inca granaries on the Apu Pinkuyuna, which is the name of that mountain, which is a mountain spirit. The face is Huiracocha. He is the protector of this town, Ollantaytambo, at the downstream end of the Sacred Valley of the Incas. Anyway, those granaries up there, that granary building, the reason they put it up there is because in the afternoon, in the 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock hour, a heavy wind always picks up from up that valley you can see there in the distance, and it really cools off and dries off everything that's up on that mountain, which makes it perfect for long-term food preservation and storage. So anyway, the wind is starting to pick up. It's kind of getting on towards that time of day here. We're at the tail end of winter, approaching spring here in Ollantaytambo, Cusco, Peru, in the Sacred Valley of the Incas. We're at 12 degrees south latitude, which is the tropics, but it is the southern hemisphere, so the seasons are flipped from what they are in North America, or the northern hemisphere in general. So we're coming up on the tail end of winter here, and our days are finally getting longer. Things are warming up a little bit. But anyway, so the classes that I'm going to be presenting, one of them is a walkthrough and a tour of some traditional textile communities and the things that people do textile-wise in those communities. So we're going to go up into the mountains and see alpacas in the mist in their natural habitat frolicking next to glacial lakes, and then go to rural Quechua communities where people practice the traditional textile pursuits that they have for thousands of years. So we're going to see spinning, dyeing, weaving, and knitting in those contexts. And we're also going to move through the cities and the more modernizing towns and talk about how people still continue to engage in textile pursuits, even as their lives modernize. And so I think that's going to be really cool. We're going to see some great footage of some amazing places, some just amazing scenery, and then some really down-to-earth, knitting in regular life kind of content and stuff like that. And we'll have time to take your questions and talk more about that stuff. The second workshop I'll be doing is called Spindle Sharing. And I'm going to share with you what my personal collection of spindles are that I brought with me when I moved back. I still don't have all of my spindle collection here yet. That may be some time, because with our borders closed, there's also no mail, and I'm not making any trips out of the country, so bringing things back and forth, it's prohibitive, so there's still a lot of stuff I don't have. So I'm going to show you what the essential spindles are that I couldn't live without, what spindles I've picked up since I got here that I think are super important to have. And then, because I continue to teach remotely, and because we were talking about other kinds of things, so I learned how to spin and weave living here in the Andes of Peru, in spinning and weaving, in a spinning and weaving community not far from Ollantaytambo. Normally it's about a half an hour away, and I go there all the time, but I've hardly been anywhere since March. Because quarantine and all that entails. But anyway, so I learned to spin and weave here, and then I taught a lot of those subjects and did more research on those subjects while living in the more industrialized world, and that let me learn about a lot of different things that go on, right? A lot of different spindle form factors, spindles from all over the world, lots of cool stuff. And so a lot of my friends here are curious about what are those spindles, what are they like, how do they work, and that type of thing. So since I didn't have everything here, and I still wanted to teach about them, and I wanted to share about stuff with that, I also spent some time talking with some local woodworkers to get them to make a couple of the things that I would show people pictures of, and they're like, well, that's cool. I want to know more about that. That's interesting. So so I spent some time talking with my colleague Galina Khmeleva, who is an Orenburg spinner and knitter, and amazing lady. And we made some whorl-less Russian-style, Orenburg-style spindles here with a local woodworker, and that was a really fun process. And then after that, I worked with him to have made some cross-arm style spindles, right? So like a lot of people call them Turkish style, but that gets complicated. And we'll talk about why I call these spindles by the different names that I do, and some things that I've learned about those over the course of a lot of research and study and sharing spindle knowledge as I travel around in general. And then we're gonna use found materials and things we likely have on hand in lots of places to experiment with different spindle form factors and shapes, and talk about how different material availability, different climates, and different objectives can result in different spindle form factors, and how you can test out some of those different things. So you can sign up for any of these classes, plus the ones that Maggie and Judith are teaching at lambtownfestival.org. And like I say, the thing that's really cool is you can actually sign up for all of them, because you can take it as part of the live watch party, or you can view it later, and the stuff stays available. It stays available afterwards, right, through the end of the year. And the prices are also, I think, really exceptional. It's a sliding scale, $25, $34, or $50. And it's just really cool. I'm so thrilled to get to be part of this, and so thrilled that the organizers of Lambtown in California, lambtownfestival.org, have really worked hard to make this happen and pull it all off. So I guess now let me go ahead and take any questions anybody may have. We got a few minutes for that, so go ahead and type your questions in chat, and I will answer them. So any questions that you've got as far as how that all goes, just type them right in the live chat, and I will answer. Again, sign up for these workshops is at lambtownfestival.org. Things are starting to kick off already with being able to see different events happening there. And the main event is the first weekend in October, Lambtown's historical dates, when it's always been held, and available on an ongoing basis, on a recorded basis, through the end of the calendar year. Super exciting. So again, I've got textile traditions of the Andes and Spindle Sharing, and then there's a panel discussion with me, Maggie Casey, and Judith McKenzie. You can see more about all these classes at lambtownfestival.org. Also on Instagram, looking at a lot of stuff that's going on, and you can leave your comments here on this video as questions. Leave your questions as comments. Maybe that's a better way to put it. And I'll be checking back to answer them periodically. But if you have any you want to add to the live chat now, go ahead. I got a few more minutes. I'm going to be here live before I have to go move on and do some other sessions. There's also on Instagram and Facebook, you can see some other live sessions that I've just done for info about all of this. I really think you want to go check out these classes and events and lambtownfestival.org in general. It's really something special. And I think it's a big deal because we've lost so much of our in-person connectedness relative to all the fiber events that we normally like to go do. And we just can't under quarantine and with travel restrictions and with the pandemic going on. But, you know, virtual events like Lambtown Festival are stepping up to really make it happen and make it so that we can all be connected and still study and learn and share and have that community focus. And no, it's not the same as being able to hand you a piece of yarn and say, well, feel this. But, you know, it's so much better than sitting at home wishing and crying and being sad because we don't have our fiber events. I know I have been way bummed out. And so for me, it's a tremendous honor and just a real thrill to get to be part of something like this. And it's been so exciting to get to work on figuring out how it happens and what we do and what we can really do in a virtual setting that is as good or better, different from what we would do in person, right? But as good or better. And I could not be happier than to have had the chance to work with the organizers of Lambtown for this, who are people who I've known for years and years working in our fiber community. And I'm so thrilled that this is happening and thrilled to get to be part of it because, again, what a year, right? What a year. So yeah, so I got about 2 more minutes here that I'm gonna stick around to see if there are any questions anybody wants to add in the live chat and talk about all this kind of stuff. The classes that I'll be doing, along with the classes that Maggie Casey and Judith McKenzie will be doing, are published at lambtownfestival.org. They're all available for sign up right now. You can go register for those classes. There's advanced information going out about them. And the way that they're conducted is a recorded session, which then we all watch together as a watch party at the appointed date. And then that's recorded and you can view the whole thing through the end of the year. And each class is $25, $34, or $50 on a sliding scale. So I think they're pretty affordable, and you can watch it on anything you can stream on, basically. So whatever you're watching this on, you can participate in that class, in those seminars. And I think that is so cool. It's so accessible. It's so down to earth, and so inventive as a way to do it. I'm so excited to see this happening and to get to be part of it. Anyway, I will be doing my presentation portion of that and participating in the panel discussion with the 3 of us instructors and all from this beautiful setting here in my garden in Ollantaytambo in the Sacred Valley of Peru, the Sacred Valley of the Incas in the Cusco region of Peru. The official dates are first full weekend in October. Stuff is already starting to kick up and be active for the lambtownfestival.org event. And I really hope everyone will go and check it out and hopefully join me there for it. Again, if you have any other questions, feel free to add them as comments here on this video. I'll be checking back periodically to answer more questions about it. If you're looking for more about me and what I do and other things, You can find me as Abby's Yarns on pretty much everywhere on social media. And you can also check me out at abbiesyarns.com and at patreon.com, Abby's Yarns. And the big thing is the next really amazing thing coming up that you can check out is lambtownfestival.org and a virtual Lambtown. We're all very excited. Anyway, thanks for joining me here today and hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.